Hello and welcome to the ninth lecture. This is on things you should know before starting your PhD. Here I will discuss on some points and some misconceptions about PhD life that are rampant among prospective grad students. And first of all, you should ask yourself whether PhD research is for you. And to get the answer to that question, you should know some of the facts. First, that PhD is not a profession, rather, it's a part of your educational career. And you have to make a long-term, at least a 5-year commitment, which will include several deadlines, coursework, research commitments, and also you have to build up your networking skill. And you will possibly be overworked and very likely you will be underpaid and you will be under a lot of stress in terms of deadlines. And you should also ask yourself whether you are passionate about your research. And one very important parameter is your trajectory, whether you want to go to industry or academia after completing your PhD. And the trajectory is not just about yourself, but also the field in which you want to do your PhD. So if you know the answer to these questions, or if you can figure out these parameters, then you will be able to answer this very question, whether PhD research or this line of career is for you. And some of the students are in confusion to figure out the difference between undergrad and PhD. There is a massive difference in terms of not only the level of knowledge and effort, but also in other aspects. For example, in undergrad, you are basically learning how to learn through mostly courseworks. And when you try to get a degree, a master's degree, generally you complete one project successfully, which will earn you a master's degree. When it comes to PhD, generally you complete one big project or multiple small projects with predetermined objectives. And the difference between undergrad and PhD is that you have to do a massive level of time and resource management. And your main objective is to address a significant gap in the existing literature. And as a result, you will probably end up establishing a new method or protocol, or you will probably refine an established method or protocol. In other words, in PhD, you are creating a few lines of knowledge through 5 years of research work. And one of the most daunting dilemmas regarding PhD research is finding the optimum field of passion which you really want to work in. In order to find out your areas of prospective interest is to explore lab websites and find active researchers. In order to find active researchers, you have to go through their profiles, their recent fundings, their recent publications, and what kind of people they're working with, meaning what kind of people they're collaborating with to create new researchers and publish new publications. And also you should, when you explore the websites of professors, you should recognize what types of research they're doing. Are they interested in doing analytical research, experimental, computational, or a mixture, a combination of several of them? And what kind of research actually excites you? And also, when you are really interested in a specific field, you should explore resources in that particular lab or that particular department or university to know whether you can actually perform your projects of interest in that institution. And also, you should be up to date about recent breakthroughs and recent significant findings in your field to come up with potential projects. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. And that's why reading habit matters. You should be reading from good journals and good publications regularly so that you are not out of touch from your field. And here are some one-liners, some points that you should always know before starting your PhD, but generally prospective students do not know. And when they start doing PhD somehow by managing fund, these facts actually hit them really hard. So I think these facts are relevant to mention here. First is that before publishing, there are some significant barriers, and you should invest a significant amount of time. You cannot just cannot engage in a project and publish overnight. You have to run several experiments or run several computational simulations, or you have to spend a significant amount of time analyzing your data and then make them publishable before they actually get published. Another bitter truth is that a portion of your work at the end of your PhD may not get published. You cannot expect that 100% of your work will get published somehow. You may have to throw away a significant portion of your work because they are not publishable, or probably they're not up to the mark. Probably they're faulty because of methodology, something like that. And you should accept this fact so that you don't get disheartened when it comes to publication. And the word hot when it comes to research areas, it's kind of a buzzword. People say that they want to do research on a hot topic, but you should know that hot topic may not always be hot. Even during your PhD, the 5-year time span, the topic may lose its interest among the scientific community. So you should always be on your toes, and you should know that the clock is ticking when it comes to research topics. And this is a very interesting quote that someone has shared with me, that don't try to be me, don't try to be anybody else. When it comes to research in a lab, let's say there are 10 people, you will find that 1 or 2 people are extremely smart and they can find solution to virtually everything. And everyone looks forward to them when it comes to solving any problem. And they try to imitate their methodology of work. But the truth is, you can copy someone's method of work, but you cannot copy someone's thinking. And that's why you should always try to be an independent researcher with your own nuances and characteristics instead of copying someone blindly. Yes, you should try to follow the good habits and good methodological practices, but you should not try to be someone else entirely when it comes to research. And a good researcher always have doubts because he or she is always exploring new areas and always enriching himself or herself with new pieces of information. And that's why you should always have doubts about your research and your findings. And that's how you can refine your research and make them more and more attractive and publishable. You should not always be so much hardened on your opinion and findings. Rather, you should be very objective, and you should be able to validate your findings when it comes to PhD research. Another thing is that you should try to be wise and knowledgeable instead of being cunning and very loquacious. You should not try to get away with your ability of communication. Rather, you should try to make your research a quality material by being knowledgeable and applying your knowledge effectively in your research. Many a times you will see that some people may seem ahead of you because they can communicate their findings more effectively than you. That doesn't make them a better researcher than you. So you should be focused on being more knowledgeable, not a cunning person who can just get away with virtually any finding they get. And when it comes to academia and research, it's always a waiting game. You, before finding a set of publishable data, you have to invest a significant amount of time. and you have to wait and go through an excruciating stage of analyzing your data, refining your data, probably rerunning your experiments over and over again before you become successful. And when it comes to publication, it's also several stages of waiting. You have to submit it to a journal. You have to wait for the first decision. Probably it will come with a major or minor revision. You have to address all the comments of the reviewers. And if you cannot address, if you have to come up with a successful rebuttal. And then after that, you have to wait for the response of the revision. And then probably you will get an acceptance decision for your manuscript. So all the stages in your PhD, and especially when it comes to publication, and after your PhD, when it comes to landing a job, from sending an application to get an offer, it's several stages of waiting. So you should be habituated of being patient and playing the waiting game. And in PhD, many times one project may require expertise in several tools. So you have to be able to cope up quickly. And in many cases, you will not have any compliments or kind words from your mentor or PI. Sometimes you have to manage and run through a difficult time. So you should be a quick learner, and you should always be coping up with difficult situations. And you should not, and you should never look forward to any compliments or kind words. That's how it may sound not a very good way to be in a good mental health, but that's how you become stronger and a very objective researcher. Can you give less important stuff? In PhD, you have to work for long hours for a significant amount of time, which means, in other words, you have to give up some stuff like a social network or social gatherings or even a family time up to some extent. So you should know that in some parts of your PhD, you may have to give up some of these elements. One very important word when it comes to PhD is the trajectory. Do you actively think about your trajectory? What do you want to do with your PhD or the findings of your projects, whether you want to apply it to academia or industry? You have to be actively thinking about these parameters from the very beginning of your PhD, so that at the end of your PhD, you are ready to dive into the real world of academia or industry. In undergrad, in some courses or in a significant number of courses, we're habituated to spoon feeding. The teachers help us a lot to learn the subject topics, and they give us a lot of easy examples so that we can grasp the ideas of a course. But whether it comes to PhD and research, it is expected that you will not be looking forward to spoon feeding. Rather, one of the most important characteristics of a PhD researcher is that you will be independent in terms of thinking and generating results. So this is one very important aspect that you should be focusing on. So at a glance, we can say that by doing a PhD, you will become an independent problem solver. And also you should know that at the end of your PhD, you may think that it's not an optimum ending that you are seeing, but you should always know that the only good thesis is the complete thesis. And during the 5 years of PhD, you will go through stages of learning, implementing your learning, rinse and repeat. And when it comes to academia, you have to be in good terms with so many people, like your PI, of course, and your PhD committee members, your faculties, and also your fellow researchers and collaborators, because these relationships do not end with your PhD defense, rather you carry them with you throughout your academic career. So always, you should always be cautious and professional when it comes to be in good terms with people. And you should always know your trajectory, whether you want to go to academia or industry, and how you will implement your knowledge in industry or academia. I would like to quote one thing from my PI, that your expertise should be like an upside down capital T, like this. Your base of knowledge should be distributed among different subject topics, but definitely your PhD thesis will be on one specific topic in which you will be an expert. So that's what I had to share about the things you should know before starting your PhD. I hope that it will be helpful for prospective grad students. Thanks.